It's 11:54 p.m. above the icy skies of Belgorod. The scream of the HIMARS rockets cuts through the winter night, a piercing, metallic note that seems to freeze the air itself. Inside Russia's operations post, the radar screen erupts with a flurry of blips. More than 50 inbound targets, closing in at speeds that give the operators mere seconds to react. For Vladimir Putin, the strategy of weaponizing winter is about to collide head-on with Ukrainian retaliation. And this time, the shock comes for Russia itself. Across the border, deep inside Ukraine's command center, the coordinates of the Belgorod thermal power plant glow on the monitors. It's more than just a facility worth $120 million. It is Belgar's thermal lifeline, providing heating to over a third of the city. Why, it stands as the clearest symbol of Moscow's energy warfare, a target carefully chosen to send a message in the coldest way possible. 31 HIMARS. GMLRS rockets and 68 suicide drones are prepped and ready. The total cost for Ukraine, roughly $50 million. The math is brutally symmetrical. On January 20th, Russia spent $131 million to plunge 800,000 people in Kiev into darkness. Tonight, Ukraine's answer is both cheaper and colder, stealing warmth from 115,000 civilians in Belgorod. Every detail has been calculated. Every trajectory has been preloaded. At 11:49 p.m., the launch order is given. Silence falls over the command post. The lieutenant doesn't speak. He doesn't need to. A single press of the green button ignites the first salvo. 6 solid fuel motors roar to life, producing a hiss sharp enough to raise goosebumps. On inside the launch tubes, pressure spikes from normal atmospheric levels to nearly 3,000 pounds per square inch in under half a second. The first HIMARS rocket tears off the rails, accelerating at 20 G, force enough to crush a human body. Flames trail behind it, stretching over 130 feet into the night. Every subsequent rocket follows in a mechanical heartbeat, one every 2 seconds. 6 launchers fire in perfect unison, creating a symphony of steel and fire. 62 seconds later, the final rocket disappears into the darkness. Immediately, all 6 vehicles vanish into the surrounding pine forest, engines roaring at over 50 miles per hour. They have less than 4 minutes before Russian counter-battery radars compute the launch location. Every second counts. Above them, 31 rockets slice through the sky at Mach 2.5, almost 2,800 feet per second, guided with a mix of GPS and inertial navigation, accurate to under 16 feet. But precision isn't the full story. The brilliance of this strike lies in the choreography. Each missile is programmed with a unique altitude, flight path, and time on target, forming 3 waves in midair. The first wave, 8 rockets, climbs toward 59,000 feet. Their goal isn't impact, it's a psychological strike, lighting up Russian radars and forcing early engagement. The second wave, 15 rockets, maneuvers aggressively at 39,000 feet, overwhelming radar operators with impossible-to-track targets. The final 8 rockets fly low, hugging pre-calculated arcs that emerge only after the defenders have exhausted their attention and ammunition. This isn't a typical strike. It is a high-speed orchestration, exploiting the exact moment when enemy focus begins to falter. At 11:52 p.m., Belgorod's Air Defense Command Center stirs. Captain Sergei Volkov sits in front of the Panzer S-1 radar, exhausted after 9 consecutive night shifts. Belgorod is supposed to be untouchable, deep rear, safe, out of reach. But in a fraction of a second, 8 red blips appear at 24 miles distance, climbing at nearly 59,000 feet, Mach 2.5. Volkov confirms what he sees. It's not a glitch. His heart races. The S-1 and its batteries awaken, guns swivel, missiles lock, and every defense system in the area engages with precision-trained urgency. The S-400 Triumph, stationed 80 kilometers out, locks onto the first wave of missiles, classifying them as high-speed cruise threats. On paper, the response is flawless. 96% probability of kill. While GPS jamming from Kasuka, 4 surges into the air, enough to distort navigation across a 150-kilometer radius. Russia's defenses seem invincible until Ukraine's trap begins to unfold. The first-wave rockets are meant to die. Their predictable path draws out the defenders' attention and creates a temporary blind cone in radar coverage. Within those precious 20 seconds, the second wave slips through. At 39,000 feet, the 15 rockets twist, bend, and spiral through the sky, forcing radar operators to split attention across too many targets at impossible speeds. Volkov makes the impossible choice. Which targets to engage? Only a fraction of missiles is intercepted. The remainder continue their flight, unchallenged. By 11:54 p.m., the third wave appears. Flying low, hugging virtual terrain profiles, on the final 8 rockets, exploit radar clutter and electronic chaos. Panzer S-1 fires everything it has, 16 missiles, 30mm autocannons, but 4 rockets are already too close. In seconds, they hit their targets, the Belgorod thermal power plant. The first impact tears into the main boiler at nearly 2,800 feet per second. Steel designed to withstand extreme pressure is obliterated. Superheated water trapped at 58 pounds per square inch explodes outward. A shockwave of over 14,700 feet per second crushes walls, hurls metal plates, and vaporizes thousands of tons of water into scalding steam. The secondary blast is unstoppable, ripping through the plant with lethal force. Less than a second later, the second rocket strikes the fuel tank, containing 4 million pounds of mazout at 176 degrees Fahrenheit. The detonation forms a 20-foot-wide plasma sphere at over 5,800 degrees Fahrenheit, to igniting a fuel-air explosion with energy equivalent to 19,000 pounds of TNT. The fireball swallows the night, hot enough to melt aluminum, copper, and iron. The third and final wave hits the substation and smokestack. Transformers explode in brilliant blue flashes, oil ignites, and steel structures collapse. The city loses 30% of its power grid instantly. Streetlights across 4 districts vanish. The fire and smoke tower into the sky, a black pillar nearly 2,000 feet high. By 11:56 p.m., the Belgorod thermal power plant no longer exists. A crater 200 by 130 feet and 26 feet deep smolders with flames 130 feet high. Ukrainian ISR drones record a thermal signature brighter than a sunset. The surrounding area is an inferno of fire, steel, and debris. On the streets, civilians record videos in disbelief, a whispering that the world itself has ended. Ukraine's strike on Belgorod is more than a calculated military maneuver. It is a statement etched in fire and ice. It signals a new chapter in the war, one where winter itself becomes a weapon, a silent predator stalking both sides. Moscow felt it immediately. The shockwave of destruction, the unrelenting precision, the reminder that even the coldest season can be harnessed with lethal intent. The consequences of this strike are not abstract. They are tangible, chilling, and capable of pivoting back with a ferocity that could redefine the front lines. The next winter looms over Russia like a threat, sharper, harsher, and entirely unpredictable, carrying with it the weight of lessons already learned on the ground. For Ukraine, every shattered facility, every scorched supply line is a calculation, a psychological probe, a rehearsal for what comes next. In this conflict, victory is measured not only in territory taken or firepower unleashed, but in the mastery of timing, fear, and the intimate understanding that each strike resonates far beyond the immediate battlefield, echoing in the minds of those who thought themselves untouchable. This attack is a testament to how modern warfare operates at the intersection of technology, strategy, and patience. Drones, guided munitions, GPS jamming, and careful orchestration have replaced the brute force of past generations. The Ukrainians did not merely destroy a power plant, they demonstrated that low-cost, high-tech solutions can neutralize multi-billion-dollar infrastructure, disrupt the enemy's energy supply, and terrify both commanders and civilians. The human element is equally critical. Every engineer, every operator, every drone pilot contributes to a network of decisions that make the improbable possible. Every Russian defender witnessing the destruction realizes the fragile veneer of invulnerability over Belgorod has shattered. No rear is truly safe. No system is perfect. Every calculation, every radar lock, every missile fired is now a variable in a much larger equation. This is the future of conflict. Precision, speed, and coordination dominate over sheer size. Strategic value is determined not by how expensive a facility is, but by how effectively it can be neutralized. Psychological warfare blends seamlessly with kinetic strikes, and every winter may carry the weight of destruction for those who underestimate the opponent. So Ukraine's operation at Belgorod marks a turning point, not just in the energy war, but in the perception of modern warfare itself. The battlefields of the 21st century reward ingenuity, intelligence, and audacity. Cost asymmetry has become a weapon. Cheap, smart munitions can topple multi-million-dollar assets, and the lessons of Belgorod will be studied for decades. This is not an isolated act, it's a statement. For Moscow, the winter ahead carries more than frost. It carries